Hello, 6Es, receiving students and teachers. Thank you. You may all be seated. Right, in your previous lesson, you were left with a homework question. Now, the homework question is, why do you think the types of soil are differently colored? Okay, so that was your homework question. Let us look at your homework question. Why do you think the types of soil are differently colored? Melissa, receiving students, you tell your teacher. Melissa? Very interesting. Hope you did your homework.
Because there are different kinds of soils.
Because there are different kinds of soils. Okay, because there are different kinds of soil. Good. Right, that's one. What's another one? Receiving students? Good, your teacher will write that for you on the board. Helen, what's another one? Another reason why you think the soils are colored differently?
Because they have different layers and they live in different places.
Because they have different layers. And in different places. They live in different places. Different layers and different places. Okay, let's have the last one. Receiving students, we have girls answering here. Boys, good. You tell your teacher. Emmanuel, what do you think?
They are different in colors because the soils are different.
Because the soils are different. Okay, those are our answers. Now, receiving students, you may have a different answer. Right. Receiving students and class. Gold, copper, silver, zinc. What are those? What are those? Now you tell your teacher. Okay, Jason, what do you think those are?
Minerals.
Oh, okay, they are minerals. Gold, copper, zinc, silver, clay. Clay, bits and pieces of twigs and leaves. They all make up the They all make up the, good. Okay, they all make up the soil. Now, they all make up the soil. In your previous lesson, you looked at some of the things that, or the different layers of the soil. In the different layers of the soil, you saw that there was they have about 3 different layers of soil. So we have the top soil. What's the second layer? Very good. Okay, subsoil. And you also have the rock there. Or way below where we have the bedrock. Okay, so that's the bedrock. Where the Flintstones live. Okay, that's the bedrock. Right at the bottom. Now, that was what you looked at in your previous lesson. Now, the different types of soil, if you are wondering why they are differently colored, is because of all those different materials that are in the soil. So, if you have lots of clay, they become grayish and they look like that. If you have lots of red earth, then they become that color. It's because of the materials that are in the soil. Good. Okay. Receiving teachers, we are still on the same strand, substrand, and the learning outcome. Our topic for today, rock to soil. That's our topic for today. Now, we will go into our activities. Before we get into our activities, receiving students, I hope you remember to bring some hammer. You should have a hammer or a piece of iron, some newspapers, okay, some newspaper, and of course, a rock. Should have a rock with you. Right, if you have brought that, very good. Now, before we get to our lesson for today, you have that spread out on the desk and get them prepared. Now let us look at our activity. First one. Before we look at our activity, soil, you were looking at soil in your previous lessons. Now, those soil that you were looking at, where did the soil come from? Receiving students, where do the soil come from? Minol, where do the soil come from? Where do you think the soil come from? Receiving students? Okay, you tell your teacher. Now, Minol.
Different place.
Yeah, okay. The soil come from different place. What different place? Which place do the soil come from? What place? Robert.
Garden.
Garden. Okay, places like garden and of course other places. Now if you look at our previous lessons, we are looking at the creation of the earth. Okay, so bear in mind, where do the soil originally come from? Anyway, let's look at our activity for today. Activity 1, get a soft rock If you have your soft rock there, you get your soft rock, break it into very tiny pieces. If you have a big rock there, there's no need to break the whole rock. You break a part of a rock. Now you break that into tiny pieces. If you have a big rock there, don't break the whole rock. Yes, break that into tiny pieces. And if you already have a tiny piece there, smaller piece from the big rock, then you keep breaking it. Keep breaking it into a bit smaller. If you have, if you have tiny pieces there, see? Now you keep breaking all those tiny pieces until they get smaller and smaller. Right, like what you can see on your screen now. Right, you keep breaking all those, see, if you can see on the screen there, keep breaking that. Okay, that's it, keep breaking those into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces as you can. Right, once you have done that, you transfer them onto a white sheet of paper, a white good sheet of paper. Very good. Now that you have those on the white small piece of paper, as you can see on your screen, if you got those on a white piece of paper, good, you have broken down if you've got those, you have broken down a rock from probably this size and down to that size, and it keeps going down, down, and down, and down, and down, and eventually to the other sizes. Now, you can see that on screen, can you? Good. Okay. What do you see is the question. What do you see? From the soft rock, after you break it into tiny pieces, what do you see? Rodney, what did you see? What did your group come up with? Rodney was breaking all the rocks there, and as you can see on your screen now, from that bigger rock, he broke it right down there. So what can you see?
Soil. Soil.
Soil. Soil. Okay, you saw soil. Right, receiving students, if you said soil, very good. Now, you can see soil from that bigger rock, you broke that down, and eventually it became a, that's right, soil. Right, next question. Your next question, you see rocks in rivers and creek. Explain what the water does to them. What do the water do to those rocks in the rivers? What do you think they do? Now you write that down. I'll give you 3 minutes to write that down. Now, in the picture, you can see, those villagers have put rocks on top of each other, but the rocks in the soil. Can you see that? Okay, those rocks in the soil. Forget about those rocks that are lined up. They are just decorating them. But the rocks in the, sorry, not the soil, the rocks in the river. Explain what the water does to them. You have 2 more minutes to go. All right, by now you should have completed that question. Oa, what do you have? Oa, what do you have? When you see rocks in rivers and creeks, explain what the water does to them.
The rock is holding the soil, so the water is flowing.
The rock is holding the soil, so the water is flowing. Okay, good. The rock holds the soil, so water is flowing. Right, but what does the water do to the rock was the question. Very good. I asked what it happens to the rock. Madhu.
The water makes the rock soft and they turn into soil.
The water makes the rock soft and they turn to soil. Very good. Okay, how do they make the water soft? How do the water make the rock soft?
It stays long in the water and it gets soft.
Stays
Long in the water.
Stays long in the water and it gets soft and turns to soil. And when the water is also, yeah, that's the word, water is flowing, it breaks up the rocks in the water, and so it takes them away and eventually they get smaller and smaller, just like how you were doing when we were breaking up the rocks, the rock that you brought. Okay, good. Now let us look at our last question. You all ready for that? Good. Let's look at our last question. Some tiny plants like lichens grow on rocks. Now if you do not know those lichens, they are tiny plants that grow on rocks. You try to explain how lichens can change and break the rocks. How do those plants break up the rocks? See those interesting plants? Or likewise, plants that grow out from the rock. How do they break the rock? All right, your 3 minutes is up. Now, class and the receiving students, by now you should have at least have some answers to the third question. Okay, the third question was asking you some tiny plants like lichens grow on rocks. So you were to explain how lichens can change and break down rocks. Right. Let's hear from Ubao. Ubao, how do you think those plants can change or break down those rocks? Receiving students, I hope you are telling your teacher. Okay, good.
The plant wraps the stones and makes it soft so it can break easily.
All right, did you hear that? He says the plant grabs the stone and while they are spread out growing on it, so that they spread all over the stone and it slowly breaks the rock. Okay. What about other plants? Madhu? Oh, Robert.
The plants grow bigger and its roots spreads through the stone and makes the stone crack.
Very good. Okay, so if you have some answers like that, the plants, he says the plant gets bigger and its roots grow through the rock and it breaks it up. Okay, very good. Those are some of the answers that you should have. Now, you all ready for your summary? Okay. Our summary there. All right, by now you should have completed your summary notes. Let us look at our key phrase for today. What do you think our key phrase for today is? Okay, good. Let's see. Rocks and soil. Our next lesson topic, rock collections. Now, for this, you bring along samples of different rocks that you can find. Okay, so sample rock collections that you can find. With that, thank you very much, 6Es and receiving students, and have a good day with your teacher.